Mobile. So, Brian, let's first get your reaction. We've got a bunch of voters who are undecided. Did they get a better idea of who these candidates are after this debate?
Claudine, if people were watching, I think they heard from each of these candidates about where they stand on things. And if you go down the line one by one, I think you got a feel for where they are on the issues in California. And it was actually pretty clear where each candidate was. I mean, the Republicans were predictable in terms of talking about the state being actually kind of a disaster and the need for change. I think the Democrats were kind of trading blows a little bit. They have to distinguish themselves among the Democrat field. I think, again, if people were watching, they were treated to understanding a little bit more about each of these candidates.
And Brian, Javier Becerra has that momentum coming out of his double-digit jump. Matt Mahan still in single digits in the polls. He had some ground to make up. Did anyone miss an opportunity here tonight?
No, I think Greg put his finger on it. In these kinds of forums or debates, it's a do no harm. You want to get out of these debates without saying something that's going to show up in a television commercial tomorrow. So all in all, these candidates pretty much went along with the script that they've been putting out to California. I mean, you take the case of Tom Steyer. He's a good billionaire versus bad billionaires. He has to say that because he's been receiving a lot of negativity around some of his investments made many years ago. And if you go down the line, each person was trying to defend their record and at the same time put forward their best foot. Becerra, as an example, I'm very, very experienced. I don't need training wheels, you know. I'm going to go into the state capitol and hit the ground running. Matt Mahan talking about his time in San Jose and what he's done there. Katie Porter, it's an interesting thing. You look at that field there tonight, one woman, 5 men. California, a very, very progressive state, has never elected a woman governor. One of only 19 states in the country to have never elected a woman governor. So she's running against history in a sense. So each person in the field had to stake out their place. And if you looked at, say, somebody like a Hilton, he's saying, hey, I'm an outsider. It's about business. I'm trying to deal with California on a business-like basis and return California to the promise that we all have for the state.
Yeah, the two Republican candidates, Brian, have found themselves at the top of the polls, even if there are a lot of undecided voters. So they were asked if they would support one another. Steve Hilton said if he wasn't in the runoff, he would support Bianco. But Chad Bianco said he wouldn't support Hilton because he thinks there are going to be two Republicans on the ballot in November. What do you think? Certainly that's the scenario that Democrats are worried about.
Well, absolutely, but I don't actually see that happening. I think one of those Republicans will be at the end of the day in the race, and Democrats will find one of those Democrats facing off against a Republican. I just don't see a scenario with both Republicans ending up at the top of the ticket because of the registration in California. It's massively Democrat, and if Hilton and Bianco split the vote, one of them will probably be at the top of the ticket, frankly, in terms of, or at the top of the ballot, because of registered Republicans voting for a Republican. But I think you'll see one of the other Democrats on that stage end up facing off against one of the Republicans.
And Brian, you mentioned each candidate had a chance to defend their record here, talk about their controversies. How do you think they did?
Well, we know if we're watching closely, and I hope all the viewers are now really engaged and looking at these candidates, all of them had things to defend because, these days, between the commercials that are out there and everything else, all of their problems, all the things that they've faced come to light. You look at Katie Porter, she had to defend her behavior with a staffer, as an example. Steyer having to defend his investments. Again, the defense by Mahan of his ties to Silicon Valley. Becerra also, Washington insider. And Hilton and Bianco having to defend their positions as well. So did they do a good job? I think basically they were able to kind of fend off most of the attacks. And for people who watched the debate tonight, going back to the top of our conversation, I think you have a better, clearer idea of where these candidates stand on the issues.
Yeah, well, it's certainly go time. Not a lot of time left. We should mention also that Antonio Villaraigosa and Tony Thurmond weren't included because they didn't meet the criteria. But we've got a couple more debates ahead and a couple more weeks to convince voters to try to get their support. Brian Sobel, we have to leave it there. But as always, we thank you for your insight.
My pleasure.
Thanks, Brian. Well, so far, Democrats have not consolidated support for one